Democrats like you and career politicians, jackass.
You can't do what you're looking to do with $20 trillion in debt. The Obama administration, from the time they've come in, is over 230 years worth of debt, and he's topped it. He's doubled it in a course of almost 8 years, 7.5 years to be semi-exact.
So let me quantify this for you and why it means something, because most people hear what the national debt is and they don't care. All the presidents combined got us to $10 trillion. When Bush left office and Barack started, it was at 10, and now it's at 20. The first 3 years that Barack was in office, he had a Democrat majority in the Senate and the House. They didn't even pass a budget. Now we've added the Affordable Care Act. We've gotten involved in Libya, Syria. We've got a whole variety of messes. We've expanded social programs, and guess what? The economy hasn't grown. And let me explain why that's important. When you have a $20 trillion debt and the rate is zero, your payment is this big. When you have a $20 trillion debt and rates go up, which they will because they're at historic lows, your payment is this big. And that's the problem. When Barack leaves office and the rate ticks up, what do you think is going to happen when the rate is 5%, when it's at 10%, when it's at 12%? The United States is at a deficit now. What's going to happen when we have to service that debt?
I think my husband did a pretty good job in the 1990s. I think a lot about what worked and how we can make it work again.
Well, that's a fantastic narrative that the media talks about and you talk about the 1990s and your husband. First off, the balanced budget amendment, which he takes credit for all the time, he had to be dragged, kicking and fighting by the Republicans to the table to pass that. He said you couldn't pass a balanced budget in 7 years, 9 years, 13 years. Go on YouTube and look for it yourself. Also, all the corporate scandal like Enron happened under his tenure. And guess who had to deal with it but the next president? Let's talk about Al-Qaeda. Let's see, they were involved in the Somali Black Hawk Down incident. He didn't do anything. They were involved in blowing up the World Trade Center. He didn't do anything. They were involved in the USS Cole bombing, the Khobar Tower bombings, and the African embassy bombings. He didn't do anything. Nice foreign policy. When someone's kicking your ass and they're telling you they're going to continue to kick your ass and you do nothing but sleep with your intern, that's a problem. And oh yeah, that's right. He was impeached by the House of Representatives. What else happened during that period of time? Oh yeah, that's right. The first Gulf War was over. And Saddam did whatever the hell he wanted. He rearmed under the UN Food for Oil program that Clinton supported. He shot at coalition planes 3,600 times. He tried to kill George Bush I in Kuwait. He fostered a variety of terrorist efforts in Palestine. When the Jews would go and bulldoze somebody's house because they blew something up, Saddam would pay them money to replace their house. That's fostering terrorism. Saddam was a bad guy. He needed to go. Could that war have been managed differently? You bet. But Bill Clinton is at the root of all of this bullshit. He had a chance to kill bin Laden multiple times and failed to do so. When he left office, we were in the middle of a huge recession, and he also had planted the seeds for the Community Reinvestment Act, which is loaning money to losers, guaranteeing loans. So if you want to look back at the 90s, Hillary, and say your husband did a great job, let's get the story straight, because he did a shit job.
We also have to look at how we help families balance the responsibilities at home and the responsibilities at business.
I missed in the Constitution where it says the government is supposed to get involved in my household to manage my family and business. Let's see. You were in the White House and you couldn't manage your own family and business in the 1990s or after. Your husband's been accused of rape by multiple women and all you've done is gone and destroyed them. So I don't think that how you manage things should be the model for how the rest of us manage things. In fact, I don't think the way you do anything should be the way that we operate and do it. And you certainly aren't going to tell me how to manage my family or my business.
I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted. As soon as she releases them, I will release my tax returns.
Why won't he release his tax returns? And I think there may be a couple of reasons. First, maybe he's not as rich as he says he is. Second, maybe he's not as charitable as he claims to be. Third, we don't know all of his business dealings, but we have been told through investigative reporting that he owes about $650 million to Wall Street and foreign banks. Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes.
All right, here we are back to Don Trump's tax returns. It's not that he didn't file them. The IRS has them. And guess what? During the Obama administration, the IRS got caught attacking conservative individuals and foundations. So you think that since Donald Trump is running for president and they have all of his returns and he's not had problems in the past, that they're not being looked at, that you think there's some diabolical thing in the background? How about your foundation, honey? You took money from the Russians and sold them uranium when you were the Secretary of State. You stole money from the Haiti Fund. You donated to your own foundation to avoid taxes. So you're going to talk about Donald Trump and that his lawyers are wrong and that he can hand those documents over? Well, how about your emails? Do you think your lawyers are going to allow the 33,000 emails that were about yoga and your daughter's birthday party? Oh, and by the way, Benghazi and how you left your employees to die? They're going to let those emails out? I don't think so. That's a great excuse to go after a business guy. But guess what? His job as a businessman for his entire career, for his employees, investors, and his company are to minimize taxes. And who passed those tax laws? Democrats like you and career politicians, jackass. The reason that people like that can minimize their taxes is because you and your lawyer friends have made the tax code so complicated that people with money can find their way around it. And people like myself and most Americans end up taking it right in the ass in terms of the amount of tax they pay, especially if they're successful. And guess what you want to do? Turn it up a little bit more. If you cared about fairness, you pass a flat tax that allowed for mortgage deductions and deductions for kids, and that's it. And don't you find it amazing that Republicans supposedly that don't pay any tax are just for that, the flat tax? Wouldn't they be paying more? Think for a second, honey.